I intend to talk about Ramakrishna and his relationship with the Tantric tradition, but first have to explain that anyone who knows anything about Ramakrishna typically hesitates to talk about him because whatever you say is going to be less than the reality that he is. And I say is rather than was, because he's very much a living presence for us in the world today, for those of us who turn our devotion and attention toward him. In any case, the physical Ramakrishna lived approximately from 1836 to 1886. I say approximately because the date of his birth is not exactly known. There's different sources for what the exact date was, and Village India doesn't keep birth records, and so a lot of adult villagers don't really know their exact birth date. In any case, it doesn't matter. So, Ramakrishna was born in a Brahmin family, and Brahmins typically, traditionally have the job of learning and performing rituals for people. The rituals, what are called samskaras, or life transitions, like when the young man becomes a student. This is called Upanayana, the giving of the sacred thread ceremony. As an infant takes his first solid food, or shave his head for the first time. There's rites that are performed, and Brahmins perform those rites, and in the meantime they do worship in their home, their own shrines, or they might be in charge of a temple. So in any case, Ramakrishna's father was a highly respected Brahmin, and it is likely that Ramakrishna's first contact with the Tantric tradition was watching his father do Tantric ritual in his home. Something that's not widely known, perhaps, is that virtually all temple rituals and Hindu rituals that are performed in India today have their basis in Tantra. So, the rituals that his father performed were Tantric rituals. Now, Ramakrishna himself would have learned these rituals later. His father died when he was only 7 or 8, so he might not have been able to learn directly from his father, but his elder brother, who was quite a bit older, became then the father figure, and his elder brother ran a Sanskrit school at some point, and then his elder brother was engaged as a priest at the Dakshineshwar Kali temple, but he soon died, and then Ramakrishna was offered that position, and he remained in that position in a kind of official sense for most of the rest of his life, even though he ceased doing traditional worship after a period of intense spiritual practice in which he had the vision of the goddess Kali rather continuously. In any case, the rituals that he performed at the Kali temple were entirely Tantric rituals. Kali is the preeminent Tantric goddess, and in order to do that ritual, he had to have an initiation in the Kali mantra. His family deity was Rama, Raghuvir Rama, although they did also have a goddess in their shrine, the Shitala, the goddess. But Ramakrishna had to take a mantra from a guru to worship Kali, and that guru was Kenaram Bhattacharya. We don't hear much about him as Ramakrishna's Diksha or initiation guru, but he's there if you look in his history. And thereupon Ramakrishna proceeded to do the tantric ritual as his job. He went through various periods of interest in other religions too, Islam and Christianity, various sects of Hinduism, this Ramayat sects, and the worship of Hanuman. And in each of these practices, although it's traditional within the Ramakrishna order to say that he practiced Christianity or he practiced Islam, what he practiced are very Hindu tantric versions of these religions, that involved the basic tantric principle of identification with the deity. So whatever spiritual mood would possess him, whether it was love of Krishna or devotion to Radha or to the Divine Mother, then he would relate to these deities in ways that were typical of the Tantric tradition. The basic principle of Tantric worship is, I'll say the Sanskrit, Devo Bhutva Devam Yajet, that is, having become the deity, worship. One should worship the deity. Now, this having become the deity is a very interesting little phrase, and it really, in a very economic way, encompasses a very profound psychological process whereby the individual, through a certain meditative visualization, progressively reduces identification with this body and mind, and then increases identification with the deity. Now, you can say, well, that's just imagination. Well, in this case, imagination is a powerful tool for transforming consciousness, because when this is done correctly, one actually feels a shift in one's identity, and then ultimately perceives the world from that deity's point of view. And the human part is very much attenuated, just a tiny presence, and the deity is the one who is moving through and seeing through and hearing through and talking through the individual. And that's a very high and very ecstatic, wonderful state in which you see the whole world as the deity sees the world, which is as blissful consciousness. So that's one of the promises of Tantra. If you do it right, the world gets transformed from matter, what's called inert matter, into living consciousness, and you understand that that is the deeper reality that underlies all of our existence. So, although Ramakrishna dabbled in the various sects, including a rather long period of tantric training under the Bhairavi, and the Vedantic training, 11 months under Totapuri, he always came back to his tantric orientation, as it were, his tantric way of understanding the world, of his tantric way of performing spiritual practice, and of identifying with the deity. And so we see that Tantra permeates his life story, just as Tantra permeates what is known as modern Hinduism, although in a hidden way. It isn't necessarily acknowledged as such, but it's there and has been there for centuries.